What is up, hotties? Welcome back to another episode of Stay Hot. I'm Bladen Kirk, joined as always by my two favorite co-hosts of all time, in Matthew Sponhour and Theo Ash. We have a great episode planned for you all today. We're going to go over some potential landing spots for quarterbacks. I know I saw a video Matt did on the Panthers maybe making a move for Kirk Cousins. Man, I know you want that to happen so bad. And then we'll probably talk about a little bit of NBA stuff, some various storylines, whether it be the Lakers. I know we want to talk about Damian Lillard and some stuff like that. But before we get into all of that, Matt, Theo, how are you guys doing today?
I'm doing all right. I'm trying to become a draft expert and also a foreign policy expert here in the last 24 hours. So, yeah, I've been, there's been kind of like an overload of information that I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to become a draft expert in two different ways. But yeah, no, it's,
yeah.
I don't know. It's been a crazy 24 hours.
For a while, the memes were funny. And then Russia actually invaded Ukraine, and now the memes have
Can I give my
we saw
my
it all
hot
before
take about that? I think a lot of the World War III memes have been pretty run of the mill. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like
they have. Well, we went through it already. We went through it.
We've already done these. These are recycled draft memes.
We've already done it.
Yeah.
In early 2020, we did this already. So yeah, for everybody, this is not a war podcast, but there is not actually going to be, I promise everybody, there is not actually going to be a draft. All right. That's not actually going to happen. Yeah.
Imagine like there being a draft and then people are going to come back.
I end up on old take exposed. Yeah.
Old takes exposed. No,
there's not going to be a draft.
No. Hopefully,
just a reminder to everyone: do subscribe to the YouTube channel. In the event that we do all get drafted, at least we can have a lot of subscribers and document the journey. So that would be cool as well. But I say we just hop right in. Matt, I was talking earlier about, you posted a video about the Panthers potentially making a move for Kirk Cousins. And that's one guy who could potentially be on the move. Mm-hmm. We're all in agreement that making a move for Kirk Cousins is probably bad, right?
Depends.
It depends on who you are, right?
I guess it depends on like how much they give up and how much of Cousins' contract they take. But he cost a ton of money, and for the Vikings to do that, they would need to they probably would want the 6th overall pick, no matter how much money they took. I don't know how would that work? And we don't have the offensive line for it. It's like, that's such a stopgag solution. And I think Cousins is a pretty decent quarterback, but that's not where the Panthers are right now to make a trade like that.
I think it works if the framework looks like this. You unload the Sam Darnold contract, and I'm trying to look it up on exactly how many, like, if that would just all fall on the Panthers or the Vikings on who pays for that. But you can always like say you take the money, I take the money. You can kind of mess around with that a little bit. Yeah. If you can get off the Darnold contract, obviously you'd be getting onto a bigger contract, but the bigger contract also comes with a half decent quarterback. So if you like switch first round picks and, the Panthers give up their 6th, but also get, the Vikings first in some way. So it's more moving up than just totally giving that up. If you can get off the Sam Darnold contract, the framework is there for that to be a decent deal. I think for both sides. So I don't know. And I feel like as far as Cousins in the Panthers scheme, the Panthers offense is one that isn't exactly Rule wants to run it like 1 million times per game. So I guess I don't know why it would be that worth it to have the highest paid quarterback if that's what you want to do, is to run it that much. But I don't know. I can see a world where it happens, but I think if I had to guess, the Vikings end up keeping Cousins.
I mean, no, Theo, I think that's Theo, I think you hit the exact nail on the head there with why are you going to pay $1 billion for a quarterback if you're just going to run the ball $1 million? Like, there's no point. I mean, they're already paying a bunch for Darnold.
And if we're trading for a Minnesota quarterback, give me Kellen Mond.
Kellen Mond moment.
The Kellen Mond Sam Darnold quarterback battle is one for the ages. But I don't know. I think that's the Panthers doing their due diligence and calling about every quarterback. Cousins isn't bad, but I think that would be a pretty extreme thing to do.
I also think Cousins will work out very well in that Kevin O'Connell, like Sean McVay type of. I mean, first of all, McVay coached Cousins in Washington. McVay was the offensive coordinator in Washington before he was the head coach at the Rams, and obviously Kirk Cousins was there at the same time. And Kirk Cousins put up like a very efficient season. Kirk Cousins is like the perfect quarterback for the Sean McVay system because, like, Cousins is not exactly the brightest quarterback around, and he's not someone who's gonna like read everything out perfectly and just like force the defense to like account for all areas of field at one time. But the McVay offense does a good job making like easier reads over the middle of the field and relying on yards after catch and more like here's where you're going to go and just get it there precisely and you're going to be good. And Cousins is a precise, accurate quarterback. And so I feel like Cousins is a fine quarterback to operate what O'Connell wants to do. So I don't particularly know if the Vikings would even be that interested in moving off of him because they've got a roster that can go to the playoffs, right? Like that should be the expectations this year. So I don't know what I guess you could take someone with the 6th overall pick, but
I think with the position that the Vikings roster is in, moving off of Cousins for a rookie quarterback just like doesn't make a ton of sense.
Yes.
I thought they'd be a playoff team last year
instead.
I thought they'd be a playoff team last year. So
yeah.
So did I.
Here's an interesting guy though that I think a lot of people should be interested in. Jameis Winston. I think Jameis Winston. There's the idea of he could just go back to the Saints, right? Now they first have to figure out their cap situation, but he could go back to New Orleans.
They will figure out their cap situation. They will. Okay. They will.
Okay.
Yes, they will.
I'll let whatever helps you sleep at night, Theo. But Jameis could go back.
I think them not figuring it out would help you sleep at night, Blade.
I promise you, by the time week 1 rolls around, I will be more right about this than they won't figure out their cap situation. Same deal as last year, and the year before that, and the year before that, and the year before.
And they
that.
can restructure a lot of stuff. Yeah,
they can. But yeah, Jameis Winston's a guy. Jameis Winston's a guy that definitely he is a good quarterback. I do think he has like maybe he's not going to be Aaron Rodgers somewhere, but I think if you were to put him on like the Buccaneers maybe again.
The Saints are easily a playoff team if he's healthy the whole year. Last year, Saints are easily a playoff team.
Yes.
Yeah. If they were 5-2 with Jameis. He was putting up not elite numbers, but he was being an efficient quarterback despite Marquez Callaway being the best wide receiver there. And, Adam Troutman being a tight end and Traquan Smith. It was horrible. And he was still putting up decent numbers and the Saints were 5-2. I think re-signing Jameis is going to be priority 1 once they do free up cap space. And that's another guy where I see him also staying where he is. Because I think like the Saints know that they would have been a playoff team if it wasn't for that. I don't know. It's the Taysom thing that always gets me screwed up with them. And it's like, why did they pay him all that money? But yeah, I guess. I don't know. I don't know.
In that QB chart I made, Jameis Winston ranked 7th in average efficiency.
Yeah.
And I know he didn't, he had a good smaller sample size, but I think that speaks for something. Matt, you had something you wanted to... I'm sorry for interrupting you, Matt.
No. It's I forget what I was going to say.
This is my fault.
Jameis threw for 5,000 yards and 30 touchdowns in a season. People forget this about the 30 interception season is it came with a lot of touchdowns and yards as well. So Yeah, he's good. I think the things that he does well, obviously he's got a nice arm. I thought his pocket movement was actually all right on the Saints last year, and just his general poise is not so horrible. But yeah, I don't know. He's once they add Michael Thomas back, and if they can get the Jameis Winston deal done, I think the Saints are a playoff team next year. I think that they were on pace to be easily, and I don't think they're going to lose enough. Yeah.
His pocket movement was good in Tampa too.
Yeah.
I thought. I don't know. I feel like he's always been able. Listen, he got the LASIK surgery, and all of a sudden it's like he was seeing things differently. I don't know. I don't know if that made that much of a difference, or maybe it was a coaching change. I don't know.
The LASIK eye surgery did not make that much a difference, I can promise you. I think that, first of all, contact lenses exist. All right. I don't know if he was playing without those. From what he talked about it a little bit, and I think his eyesight is similar to mine, where maybe like if he was reading the field down the field, maybe he couldn't read the numbers real sharply, or like, the logo on the helmet would be blurry, but like I think that he could see.
You can make out shapes and colors.
The figures, like, oh, that's our guy. That's the other guy moving down the field. I don't think it was that bad. I think the eye surgery was a little bit overblown, but he did improve his play. I do think that he's a good quarterback, ranks solidly in a if he's your starter going into week 1, I think you feel like you're in a decent place. And with the Saints defense, I think that's a good place to be in.
If he doesn't end up on the Saints though, who should be looking to bring Jameis in? I think Tampa should be looking to.
I think it's difficult to bring someone back once you've released them. I just think it's
maybe, but like, I don't know. Maybe for the right price tag.
I'd like the Broncos to think about it.
I'd agree. Because they're not getting Rodgers. They're not getting Rodgers, and they're not in a spot in the draft where
if you want to transition to Rodgers, I feel decently strongly that he will either be with the Packers or retired. But we'll at least get 3 more, like, what does he mean by this post, before we actually figure out the answer. I think it's really lame when players do that. I'm not going to lie to you. When it's like, this is like a very obviously a cryptic message. And it's like, what is this supposed to mean? Come on, dude.
So you just hate every wide receiver. Wide receivers do that every day.
You don't need to do that. No one's like... It's like, Aaron Rodgers, you're 40, man. And I have no problem if it's a tough decision. I have no problem if you have complaints. But if I've got NFL reporters out here like trying to like decipher whether or not this is a retirement post, and I have a very hard time believing Rodgers doesn't know what he's doing with that. I don't know. Seems a little, it's a little goofy.
He could also be trying to like gauge responses. Right? It's like, oh, well, if I retire,
just go play.
How are people going to take it, man? He cares about his community.
First of all, when I saw that post, I literally saw it like right when he posted it. And I was like, oh, he's thanking Shailene Woodley for being in his life. I thought they broke up. And I didn't think much else of it outside of like, I'm surprised to see Shailene here. And then he was like talking about his teammates and stuff. But I'm like, I kind of assumed Rodgers was just like on his hippie, like be thankful, peace and love, like shit. Because he's like that. He's a hippie. Like he's the peace and love, like Zen guy now. I didn't really read as much into it as everyone else. And then I checked Twitter the next morning and everyone was like, he's about to retire live on Pat McAfee's show. And I was like, what? That I did not read into it as deeply as a lot of
maybe it
people
was
did,
just being read into too much. Maybe I'm over.
I mean, there were a lot of things lining up.
That, it was.
Still. I mean, there was.
I don't know. Reading it again the next morning, I was like, yeah, I guess he is. I didn't like notice he wasn't in one of the like it was like Adams and then Cobb and then like a blank spot in the middle where he was supposed to be. And when I was just like scrolling, when I was just like when I first saw it, I like didn't. So I'm like, okay, maybe he wants to play the card where he's like, I can't even thank my teammates without the media like. Thinking I'm going to retire. Maybe that's the card he wants to play.
I mean, there was a lot of things lining up where it was like, the post obviously and the nuances within that. And then there was, the very next day is going to be on Pat McAfee's show. Oh, and then the day after that, the Packers are having a press conference. So it's like, I can see how people are like, yeah, no, he's retiring.
Yeah, I guess I didn't pay attention to like what. I got to get my grandma on the phone. Remember when she said Rodgers was going to be back? She checked her. She told me one time, like when Rodgers, we weren't sure what was happening last year. She was like, I just saw the news that Rodgers would be back in Green Bay when like nobody knew what he was going to do. I'm like, where did you see that? And she was just like, oh, it popped up on my phone. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Then like a month later it happened. So I got to ask her what he's thinking. Because apparently she knows.
Your grandma has the inside scoop.
My thing with Rodgers is like, he has a problem with the Green Bay organization, but I don't. Green Bay is one of the best organizations in the league, and okay, the 2020 draft was bad. Okay, a bad draft class. Like, I think every single team in the history of the sport has had those. I'm sorry that they, didn't go. Like the Packers are a fantastic team. He has a lot of help. That's what I think. I think they have a fantastic offensive line. And how many places are there where they would he would be in a much, much better spot? Not many.
Nowhere. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I think the thing with that he got mad at wasn't so much the quality of the draft classes. I think it was just like communication with him. Like, oh, we're drafting your replacement and we didn't let you know. And it wasn't so much the problem with like that they did it. It was the problem that like, oh, your friend like Randall Cobb is gone. Like, oh, Jordy Nelson is gone. And these are people who you really are friends with and respect. And then like, there is no communicate. They treat him like, I don't know, any other player, which is, again, they don't necessarily owe it to a player to like clue them in on the roster moves. But if they've been there a long time, and I know Brady got some input on things. So I think that's what he was mad at more than like the quality of the free agent moves or the quality of the draft. But anyway, things seem to be better now. Like he is saying nice things about the organization over the past year. So if he retires, I think he's just kind of sick of if he retires, I think he just feels like, I just won an MVP and, every single time I do anything with my like vaccines status, everyone just gets so mad at me. And I think he's frustrated with that. And I feel like if he retires, it's not so much that he's angry at the front office anymore. I think it's just because he's angry at like publicity in general, I guess. I don't know.
He's angry at the world.
Yeah,
he's angry at the world. Yeah. But I do like your point about going back to Jameis Winston. I do like the point because the Broncos are in a tough position because Herbert and Mahomes are in their division. So it's very tough for anyone to want to play there because that's just a brutal. But like Jameis, he'd probably be because Jameis has not gotten a bag these past couple years. Like the NFL just does not value him very much. He signed for just dirt cheap back in New Orleans twice. Yep. So the NFL just doesn't like value him very highly. So he probably wouldn't care who else is in the division if a team really offered him like a big contract and paid him like an above average starter. But yes, yeah, I digress.
I think Jameis has, Indy. I think with Denver, it's like you have this great defense, and it would really stink to waste it on a quarterback who can't go out there and make plays. I'm not saying Jameis is some like great QB, but he will go out there and push the ball down the field, and I think that gives you a lot better chance, and gives your defense a lot better chance, even if you turn it over some more, to beat teams like the Chargers and the Chiefs.
And they have weapons there. They have some really nice weapons there, especially now that
that's a very good roster outside of quarterback.
Like Javonte Williams, that their run game is nice. They have so much going for them right now. It's ridiculous.
Yes, Judy is still good. He has not put up numbers since he's been drafted, but I still have faith that Judy is a good wide receiver.
I love Judy.
Everyone who knows route running knows that Judy is good at it. But
yes,
I think that the other guys, I think Russell Wilson's an interesting case because it seems like it's been a couple years now that he's flirted with leaving. I still think the Giants make sense. I still think that is. I don't really see him getting traded anywhere but there if he was to move, just because they have the the resources at the top of this draft, 2 really early first round picks that no one could beat their offer. He seems to like want to be in New York, or at least his wife seems to want to be in New York. That's been something that's been like, that's something that's been floated for a long, long time, that he wanted to be in New York. And it seems like New York's like also would want to be with him. I don't know, like Daniel Jones or Russell Wilson. And I think that is a marriage that would make sense to me, but I just don't know if Seattle's such a bad situation that he really puts his foot down and like wants to leave, because Seattle also can make the playoffs next year. They can. So
does the Dable hire in New York feel like a move on from Daniel Jones move, or we're gonna double down on Daniel Jones kind of move? Because to me it
feels like I think they're open to both as well. I don't think that Dable would be opposed to going to the season with Daniel Jones, and I don't even think Daniel Jones is like necessarily the most horrific quarterback in the world anymore. I mean, he does some things that are all right. And especially if you're going to transition to more of a running, like if you're really going to emphasize the running game, Daniel Jones is a pretty good quarterback to have for that, because he's good at it. So I think they'd be fine going into the year with Daniel Jones. But if there, I think there is a potential for us to go there. I don't know. That's my thing, and I've been saying it for a bit.
I wouldn't love it. I don't think it would be a very good move. I don't
for
think
who?
they have
Seattle
the offensive line and for the Giants.
Yes.
I mean, that roster is really decently far off, I think. And send Wilson is probably, if he gets traded, probably wants to go to a team that has an offensive line for the first time in a while.
Yeah.
And the Giants.
The only thing about the Giants are kind of they misjudged their position last offseason, where they went, all in on, they gave Galladay this huge contract, and they picked Tony, and they went all in on offense. And, it seemed like their timeline was like to be good that year. All right. It didn't, they were not selling, they were buyers. So they've still got this nucleus that is like supposed to be good right now. They totally miscalculated. So maybe they can't do it anymore, and they've got a new GM, but the defense looks like it could be okay. And if you add Russ, even with a bad offensive line, that's probably an above average offense as well. So I don't know. I think that they are in just like, I don't think they would win the Super Bowl with Russ or anything, but I definitely think they could be a well above average team.
But that's the thing, is if you're trading for Russell Wilson, that is kind of the implication, is that you feel like you're just, or in the Rams case, they were like, okay, we're a Stafford away from a Super Bowl, which clearly they were. The Giants are not a Russell Wilson away from a Super Bowl, and trading for him, you're giving up so much of your future for not that much right now.
Fair. Although if you could get him for the 2 first-round picks this year, how much, I guess that is 2 really good players for a long time. So that is a decent amount of your future.
And Russell Wilson's not 28 anymore.
True. But you do get, I don't know. I think it makes sense. I think he probably, again, this is kind of a boring thing, because I'm just saying they likely stay in their spot. But I do think it's Russ to the Giants feels possible to me. It feels possible more than like Rodgers to Denver at this point, or
the only thing that feels impossible to me, and we've talked about this a little bit in our group chat, is Deshaun Watson playing football. And he's like on our list of guys that could go
very, very far away from being an impossible ability. I think I would guess that he's on a different team week 1. I think that he's got, I don't know. The longer it goes on, I think the more there's been like a million reports that a team is literally right there ready to trade for him the moment things blow over. And really, right. So the question is, will he get like arrested? I just don't think he will. I don't think he will. And eventually, whether that be a settlement or whether that be just like it going on too long and people dropping charges, I think that he will be on. I think that happens in the next couple months here. I really do.
Well, I mean, if you're trading for Watson, again, just like Russ, if you're not a quarterback away, I don't know. Well, I guess with Watson, you're probably not going to have to give up as much because it's like he wants to leave. The Texans probably don't want to keep him there, so the price tag might be a little bit lower.
I think you got to give up 3 first-round picks for Deshaun Watson at least.
And I think that's a deal. That's probably a deal.
And if there's a team that might be one quarterback away that has 3 first-round picks, it's Philadelphia. And I think Philadelphia makes sense if in a hypothetical world where things do get cleared up and NFL teams are willing to pursue Deshaun Watson. I think Philadelphia is a team where that I think has shown interest in Watson, trading for Watson. The defense, you've got some pieces there, but everybody is getting a little bit older, whether that be Slay, whether that be Fletcher Cox, whether that be, I don't know if Ryan Kerrigan's still under contract, but that was a playoff team last year. And like you've got these 3 first-round picks, and all of a sudden you can turn a playoff team with Jalen Hurts into a playoff team with Deshaun Watson. It's got to be tempting. I don't know if you'd want to play there or what his like preference would be, but
I mean,
the Eagles certainly have a lot to give, and
Jalen Hurts next year is going to be the best quarterback in the league. So it's going to be kind of hard to part ways with that because, as we all know, Jalen Hurts only gets better.
Maybe.
Yeah.
If you think he's legitimately good, then you can throw him in the trade piece and only give up 2 first-round picks in a second or something.
What was the original thing the Texans wanted? It was like 3 or 4 first-round picks plus like a starting caliber player, or was it 5 first? It was something crazy that only Miami
not that
had
crazy
last year.
I don't think it is that crazy. I think a healthy Deshaun Watson, or not even a healthy Deshaun Watson in a vacuum is one of the 4 best quarterbacks in football, 5 best quarterbacks in football. Yeah. And, you get one of those, there's only like 6 of them. Like there's not that many of them. So there's only 5 top 5 quarterbacks. So I don't know. Those can transform your team no matter who's on it. So I don't think like asking for all that is necessarily the most insane thing in the world if you're the Texans. But I do think that he starts on a team next year. I would guess, although he apparently wanted to play with Flores, and the Steelers have Flores, and the Steelers need a quarterback, so that could be a possibility.
Dog, but, I do not want to. Every time the Steelers or the Ravens do something, and I'm like, man, I really hope they don't do this. They always do that thing that I don't want them to do. But anytime the Browns do something that I want them to do, they don't do it. Every single time, without fail. Ravens drafted Lamar Jackson. Ravens drafted J.K. Dobbins. Steelers traded for Brian Flores. Like or not traded.
I don't know what happens Brian with
Flores
Watson.
It's what?
It's just tough because like the Steelers with like Malik Willis seem really invested in that, and then I don't know. I don't think it's worth it.
To trade for him?
3 first-round draft picks, it's tough. I guess the Eagles are the only team I can really see getting away with it because they have all the picks now. But no, if you're a team that has you're going to trade away 3 first-round draft picks and pay them a ton of money, I think your roster would need to be right. I think it's maybe it's not that it's not worth it, it's that the price is higher than people think with that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the Rams just gave away 2 and I think like another second or something for Stafford, and it was very much worth it for them. And I think Watson is better than Stafford. So it depends on, but also the Rams were, a second round playoff team.
The Rams were that close with Goff.
The Rams were, I think the Rams were a Super Bowl team, and they were a second round playoff team the year before they did it, but
they didn't give up 2 firsts for Stafford and the money like you would with Watson, because they also traded away Goff. They actually saved money on that trade. I think that's a big difference for them.
Fair. Yeah, it's difficult. But at the end of the day, I don't know. It's a top 5 quarterback, and you just don't in their prime, and you don't even see that. And I don't even think his contract is so horribly unmanageable.
I'm looking it up now. His cap hit is $40 million.
which is pretty good for a Deshaun Watson. So I don't think that's like the worst thing in the world.
$40 million and 3 picks and another good player is brutal. But I mean, he is really good. I'll give you that. That's tough.
Yeah,
that's
if you're Pittsburgh,
there
I don't even know what you're giving
some sort
up.
of limit on that stuff.
There is. There absolutely is. There absolutely
Future
is.
draft picks.
If you're Philadelphia though, and it's like, man, it's just one draft class. It's like let's just pretend, it's just one first round pick that we had this year. Let's just close our. I don't know. That's why it makes the most sense to me. Where
Eagles
it wouldn't go too far.
I don't know. I don't know how Eagles. If you're an Eagles fan, comment how you would take that. You trade 3 first round picks, Jalen Hurts, and you have to keep Jalen Reagor. Are you okay with it?
You can always bench Jalen. It's not that hard to upgrade from Jalen Reagor. It's like you don't ever have to see him again. You can cut that guy. He's not good. But anyway, that's Watson. I think the Buccaneers also make sense because like that's a roster that can still win a Super Bowl right now. Like that's probably the closest equivalent to the Rams where they can win a Super Bowl with a top 10 quarterback pretty easily. But right now they're starting Kyle Trask. He was terrible. So like you may think like, okay, a title 1 year is worth, however many draft picks. So the Buccaneers are another one where I could definitely see Watson going to. The Texans are an AFC team, so they probably would never have to see the Buccaneers in the playoffs because the Texans aren't winning the Super Bowl anytime soon. So it wouldn't be like trading Watson away as like, it wouldn't be like Rodgers getting traded to Tampa, where all of a sudden the Packers would probably have to they would just bolster a team in their, conference to basically a guaranteed Super Bowl appearance. Although with Rodgers, maybe it's not. I don't know. I think the Buccaneers make some sense because of their roster. Yeah.
But I think, it would be really tough for the Buccaneers to make the money work of just adding $40 million in cap space and giving up their picks when they're already in a position where they can't bring back Godwin and they're losing Antonio Brown. And there's a bunch of guys and, there's a bunch of offensive lineman free agents. I know the cap space is a myth and you can restructure guys, but only to so much of an extent,
Right.
Well, what's not a myth, man? Do you know what's not a myth?
HelloFresh?
HelloFresh is not a myth, man. Stay Hot is now sponsored by HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. And with HelloFresh, you get fresh, pre-measured ingredients, mouth-watering seasonal recipes, and you get them delivered right to your front door. HelloFresh lets you skip those trips to the grocery store and makes home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. And that's why I said, it's America's #1 meal kit for a reason. HelloFresh cuts out the stressful meal planning and grocery store trips. You can just enjoy cooking and get to eating in about 30 minutes or less. Also, HelloFresh is 30% cheaper than shopping at your local grocery store, and you get to skip the checkout lines. You can try their quick and easy meals like 15 to 20-minute dinners, breakfast on the go, and 10-minute lunches in the HelloFresh market. Perfect for you if you have a crazy class schedule, an internship, or a new job. You can enjoy restaurant-quality meals for less in the comfort of your own home. HelloFresh's gourmet recipes like balsamic fig sirloin are over 72% cheaper than an average restaurant meal. So, salary cap may be a myth, but HelloFresh, that's the real deal. And you can save money, unlike whatever team ends up trading for Deshaun Watson. They're not saving any money. So go on over to HelloFresh.com/StayHot16. Use code StayHot16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. Again, that's HelloFresh.com/StayHot16. Use the code StayHot16. Again, that is the number 16. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. But, I figured we can move on to some NBA stuff now. I know a while back we started talking about the Lakers, and we went like 2 episodes in a row where we talked about the Lakers, and we said, okay, let's take a break. We're going to come back in like a month, 2 months, and we'll do kind of a checkup on the Lakers. And then we got to like the NFL playoffs, and we didn't talk about the Lakers. Now the NFL season's over, and the Lakers are, I believe, the 9 seed.
Yes.
Is it time to press the red alert? Do we need to?
Yeah.
Something has to change at this point because this is supposed to be a quote unquote super team and they're not good.
Yeah, they're not good. And really, I think this is very likely the end of them for a bit. I just don't know how you fix this in one off season, or if LeBron even like LeBron, we talked about this in the NBA lives, but more people listen to this than the NBA lives, so this is probably a new discussion for most people, hopefully. But like at the All-Star game break, LeBron was pretty heavily flirting with Cleveland. Like I feel like he wants to go back there, or I feel like he's, I don't know, just checked out a little bit of LA. I don't want to like be too slanderous, but Matt, I don't know if you picked up on that at all, where it was just like, I don't know how much longer he wants to stick around in LA anymore. And I feel like it makes sense. Like if it really, doesn't get any better post All-Star break year for the Lakers, if it doesn't make more sense to just move LeBron and move Davis for picks and have a decent future at that point. I wonder if that's not just better for everybody, the way things are going right now.
I think there's a real argument for it.
Yeah.
I do. It's really gonna be hard. There are some ways you can do it. But you're banking on the health of Anthony Davis and LeBron, who honestly at this point I'm feeling a little bit skeptical. And you got to get off the Westbrook contract. And if you do this, you're going to have to take on more money. And the Lakers have been hesitant to do that. The way I see it is that if the Lakers are not going to be as aggressive as they can possibly be, it would be a mistake not to blow it up. Teams never blow it up when they're supposed to. And if LeBron, like a lot of this also hinges on LeBron has to want to leave. So working under the assumption that like he does, yeah, you blow it up. I think you do. As far as the Cavs go, I think there would be my hot take. I think there'd be a lot of Cavs fans who don't want him.
I agree. I think
there'd be
a
lot of
that's
Cavs
a hot
fans.
take.
I think I think they're just sick of it. I think they want to build through the draft. There's this idea in like NBA like fan culture that building through the draft or not like buying your team is somehow like more righteous. Or I think it's just more fun because the expectations come along a little bit slower. But yeah, like getting LeBron would make this team a contender. And I think they would have to give up some future picks to do it, but they'd be dumb not to, I think. And for the Lakers, I don't think it would be that bad. I mean, you're missing 4 picks in the future, or really 2 picks and 2 pick swaps, but you would get more than that back for Anthony Davis and LeBron. And I know I have some people arguing with me. It's like, oh, well, Anthony Davis is so injury prone. Yeah, but you'd still get some stuff back. You wouldn't get back what you gave up for him, but you'd get some stuff back. And same thing with LeBron. Oh, he's got a no trade clause. True, but you'd still get some stuff back. And I think you take what you get from those trades, you wait a year, you get off the Westbrook contract, and all of a sudden maybe you have a decent amount of assets and a lot of money and a big free agency destination. And that might be better than just holding on until LeBron and Anthony Davis just can't do it anymore.
And it wouldn't be wrong. Wasn't LeBron flirting with the idea of playing with Curry a year ago during the All-Star break? Wasn't that a thing?
I do not remember that. I do remember some like LeBron to the Warriors like jersey swaps, but I don't
just
know.
remember like LeBron was at the All and he was like so hyped to be with Curry. And I guess he was kind of like that this year.
That'd be pretty tough to pull off narrative wise, I think. I guess the thing is that it would depend on how well the Warriors did this year, if it's really a possibility. But I also think that the Warriors have such a set system that they run, and throwing LeBron in there would be pretty rough.
Well, no, I'm not saying that they would. I'm not saying that they would add LeBron this year. I'm just saying that like maybe the LeBron to Cavs narrative might not be as solid as we think it is. If there was, some talk of him, leaving a year ago and he stayed.
Here's true. The thing about Lakers suck now.
Yeah,
they really.
I guess. Yeah, that's fair.
and AD's out a month. The thing about LeBron and to the Cavs and why Cavs fans would probably not be super excited is because usually getting LeBron means saying goodbye to the young core, and like the Cavs' young core is so good right now that if LeBron did get traded to, this is really hypothetical and unlikely, but like let's say that he got traded to Cleveland. He could not make the moves LeBron teams usually make, which is like, oh, we're going to ship out, the first overall pick, Wiggins for, Kevin Love, and we're gonna, do all these things. No, LeBron would have to live with all the young core, and he wouldn't get to play with any old veterans that he
That's
likes.
a good point. Would he be willing to do that?
Yes.
I mean, the last time LeBron came back to Cleveland,
you can't be league GM anymore. You can't.
The last time LeBron came back to Cleveland, it was because the Cavs were good, or they got Kyrie and they were going to be good, right? Whether that was the reason or not, that was the situation.
Well, no, because they sucked. Well, they were 19-win team when he went back to Cleveland, but they did have the first overall pick.
They had the first, and they had Kyrie, so there was some promise. It's okay, I can go here, and I don't have to.
But this young core is very different than that young core. This young core is legit right now.
That young core is not comparable, and also they traded the number 1 pick. They did exactly. Yes. They gave up Andrew Wiggins. The only reason why the young core of Kyrie Irving was allowed to stick around is because Kyrie was really good, and this is why I think that. Why I don't think LeBron would want to trade Jared Allen. Jared Allen's really good now. I don't think LeBron would want to trade Mobley. What makes the team enticing are the young guys who are good on the team now. I see it as if LeBron went back there, it's because he wants to play with that Cavs team. He wants to play with them.
Yes,
and their defense is so good, and that's really talented. Now there might be a few moves that get made, but it's not unthinkable.
Yeah, you'd also have to give something up, and you would like to do that without giving up any of the young core. But if you throw they're this good without Sexton. So if you could give up I don't know, I'm hypothetically there were Sexton trade talks already. So if you were to make that move and throw Sexton in, that's a pretty enticing offer if for the Lakers is to add that guy or some picks in the future. You could keep the team together right now, I think, and still get LeBron, and you wouldn't have to give up Garland or Mobley or anything like that, because I would not. Well, I think
it would come down to picks probably. Sexton, with just how sign and trades work, is pretty tough. But I will say that Kevin Love is $30 million on an expiring contract, and I think that's pretty big. And that I think you give up just this, honestly, the salary to make it work. I don't think he would give up Allen, Mobley, or Garland. I don't think that's where the Cavs are right now. It would really have to be like LeBron saying, I'm not going to play here, and you're going to lose me in a year if you don't trade me now. And then maybe the Lakers would be like, if we can get 2 or 3 firsts from the Cavs and the team we can't rebuild this team, I guess that's probably our best option. But this is all really, really unlikely to happen.
Yeah, we talked to where let's talk about the Lakers, and then we didn't talk at all. Here's the deal with the Lakers. They are bad. Anthony Davis is out a month. They are not title contenders, I think, is basically the book on the Lakers right now. And I don't know, I don't know what else to say. They're interesting because of all the star power on that, and they're the Los Angeles Lakers, so there's going to get a bunch of talk about them, but I just don't. This year is just not their year. It's not their year. So I don't really think that there's that much of a point. Yeah.
You know whose year it is? It can be your year if you sign up for Underdog Fantasy. The 2021 NFL season may be officially over, but there is no offseason over at Underdog Fantasy. And right now, you can draft a 2022 Best Ball Fantasy Football team in their big board tournament with $250,000 in cash prizes and $50,000 to first place. Which incoming rookies will you draft to make a splash on your 2022 fantasy team? Draft your dream fantasy roster in the big board now, and that's it. No waivers, no trades, or setting up your lineup. Underdog will give you the optimal score each week. And get this right now, when you sign up with the code STAYHOT, Underdog is going to match your initial deposit with up to $100 in bonus cash. So what are you waiting for? Go check out UnderdogFantasy.com or their mobile app and sign up with the code STAYHOT, and may the best drafter win. Well, I know we want to talk about Dame. Dame's an interesting case. We can talk about the Lakers, and we know they're not contenders at this point. Where LeBron will go, but Dame's tough because everyone's like, oh, did he deserve to be in the 75? Did he make the right choice in staying? Do we think there's any leverage to this, or is it just people talking just to talk?
I think me and Matt. He did deserve to be in the top 75. That is my take. First of all, he was the one.
I disagree. Do you have him over You have him over Dwight Howard?
No, but he's not the one on the bubble for me. He's not the one on the bubble for me. It is like
who is
Maravich.
the bubble guy?
Pete Maravich is the guard bubble for me. Dame has had a better career than Pete Maravich. If you're going to kick someone out,
that's not how the list works, though. That's the problem.
How does the list work?
Because you can't Damian kick guys Lillard out who are already put in.
Oh, all right.
Every 25 years, they put in 25 more players. So Pete Maravich was put in before, and I don't think you can kick him out. That's how all these old guys stay. So they were letting in 25 new players, and I think there were several guys with better resumes who deserve to be in over Dame. But I don't think it's like an egregious thing. I just think it's projecting that he's good for a few more years, and maybe that's not fair.
Lillard, well, if there is a guy that should be there over Lillard, it is Dwight Howard. It is not Klay Thompson, and it is not Kyrie Irving. I think that their one snub was probably Howard in that case. And if we're getting mad over like one guy, I can live with that. I mean, I've seen the meme all the time with Dame that is like how it started, how it's going, where it's like it started with him winning rookie.
I made a video on that today.
He won Rookie of the Year and he didn't have a beard, and now he still only has Rookie of the Year and a beard, and like that's pretending that's all he's accomplished. Wrong. All right, wrong. Could not be more wrong.
Oh no,
like,
if you
NBA means nothing, and hitting the like clutchest shot in the history of the sport means not maybe the history, one of the clutchest shots in the history of the sport.
From like the logo, like
and two of them really. Is it two like series winning buzzer beater threes in his career, which is ridiculous. Averaging 25 points per game every single damn year, like 6 All-NBA, 6 All-Star appearances. He's been the best player. Like, he is a good player to have as the best player on your team. Like, you feel really good if Damian Lillard is the best player on your team. And that's something you can say about very, very, very few guys in this league. And Dame is on that list, and like Klay is not on that list, and I don't even think Kyrie's on that list. Like, when why did Kyrie demand like Matt? You had the take that got more popular, that Kyrie is not as good as Dame all time, that people got mad at, but it's right in my humble opinion.
Oh yeah, I just don't think Kyrie is given the same expectations that Damian Lillard is. And a lot of guys being overrated or underrated is just how well they play to their expectations. So it's like, why is Russell Westbrook the most hated player in the league right now? It's not because he's the worst. It's because he has the highest expectations and is probably missing on those expectations the most. With Damian Lillard, you expect him to lead a team to a championship. With Kyrie, not really. He's a number 2. He's fantastic.
Why did Kyrie want to get traded from Cleveland? He wanted to be out of LeBron's shadow and be the number 1. And he was the best player on those Celtics teams for a bit, I think, right? That's where he was going to go. And
that's a team that made the Eastern Conference Finals without him. And
if he as a number 1
in 2 years.
Yeah, his career as a number 1 versus Dame's career as a number 1. Not even like in the same universe as how like Kyrie wishes he had the success that Dame did in Portland, that he did as like when the Celtics were his team, but like he couldn't stay healthy. He couldn't really do it. And now he can't even really be he hasn't even been like a great number 2 or 3 option in Brooklyn because he's been hurt so much, and he's straight up not played games that he could play in because of his own personal choices. So it's I don't know where this narrative that Kyrie's had this. I mean, it comes from the ring and hitting that shot in the finals.
I leaned for a while that like, oh, Dame should leave and go get a ring somewhere. But like, maybe he just doesn't want to end up like Kyrie. Because that's kind of Kyrie's legacy now. It's just like bounce around a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah, it's difficult. There's like 5 NBA players in history, or like there's like 10 NBA players in history that actually have like
good legacies, and everyone else like could have done more. And
Mickey Mouse.
Everyone else is fraudulent. KG fraudulent career, like all these. There's Kevin Durant fraudulent career. If you're not like a lock top 10 player of all time, people will call your career fraudulent. So, I don't know. I don't have any problem with Dame being in the top 75 is my main thing. Dwight Howard probably. But even Dwight Howard has been like a role player for a solid half of his career. So I'm not even that mad at it. And I know that's not the greatest logic in the world, but Dame has been more consistent from the beginning of his career to the end. So I don't know.
I do like Dame. And I know, Matt, you're a big Dwight Howard fan, so I can't hate on you for...
I am a big Dwight Howard. I like some Dwight Howard. I don't know. I feel like a lot of people's logic are also kind of conflicting. It's like, well, Kyrie's had more playoff success or Klay's had more playoff success, but then they went, Tracy McGrady needs to be in over Damian Lillard. And it's like, well, what are we talking about then? I don't think it's egregious, but Dwight Howard should be in over him.
Also, one last thing. The Suns will be okay without Chris Paul for 6 to 8 weeks. That's my other NBA take. Is they're going to be okay?
No,
they have a really deep.
Done.
They have a really deep roster. They have a massive like lead at first in the West, or maybe not a massive over like the 2 seed, but like a massive lead over like the 3 or 4 seed.
Yeah,
they have the star Devin Booker, and they have really good depth, and they're really well coached. So we didn't talk about that injury, but that's I think the main thing is they're going to be okay. So
I agree. They'll be all right. And honestly, I really do believe in the silver lining that he's getting a little bit of rest before the playoffs. Yes. It's not obviously you don't want him to be injured, but it's not a lower body injury. We'll take that.
We'll take that.
We will take that. Well,
he can still
make
work
sure you
out.
guys. Well, make sure for all you NBA fans out there, you call in for the Stay Hot shout outs, give a rant about the games that are coming up. And, that pretty much wraps things up for us. As always, tons and tons of content coming away on all platforms. We'll be back Monday. Probably talk some draft prospects. Probably talk some more NBA. Don't miss out on all the great content coming away on all platforms. And as always, from Corn Boy, Bird Boy, and Lemon Boy, we will catch y'all on the flippity flop.